Hey guys, this is Yoda. This will be my dungeon feedback video for the Cinderbrew Meadery. We'll also go over some dungeon mechanics so you can kind of learn along with us as we go. So at the start here, it is kind of tempting because this is what people did in leveling dungeons, so just pull the whole freaking room. But if you do that, you will die. If you ninja pull anything, you will die. These mobs are extremely dangerous. So the real dangerous mobs here are the hired muscles and Chef Chewy. So Chef Chewy has an aura where he puts 15% increased damage on all the mobs near him, and he also makes them immune to CC, and then he himself also has group damage. So if you pull him with anything that does group damage, namely the hired muscles, then you're most likely going to die because you're going to take way too much damage, and also any casts that go off that are kickable will just be going off. So our strat here, or at least my strat, is I just pull some hired muscles, 2 hired muscles at the start. I think everyone should be able to handle exactly 2. If you pull more, then it's probably going to result in a wipe. They basically do an AoE dot, I guess some kind of fire brew or something. And they also have throw chair, which is basically just throw flesh from Necrotic Wake, same skill. But basically they're not only applying an AoE damage to the group, they're also doing that single target skill that hits a random person. So they're basically like overloading the group on group damage already just by themselves. Also featured are some like patrons that just put a mean mug on you, which is just a bleed, and this Attendant, which does like a swirly on the ground you have to dodge, or you just get disoriented, and the Pyromancer, which just does a kick and a dot that needs dispelled. So we have all cooldowns. I think this pull is pretty safe. As long as you don't pull more than 2 muscles, and as long as you don't pull a hired muscle plus Chewy, you should be good to go. These casts and debuffs are like a little bit dangerous if they go uninterrupted, but as long as like you do some amount of stops / kicks, it's usually fine. As long as you don't have too many hard muscles or Chef Chewy in the pull. All right, so after that, we do, I believe, a Chef Chewy pull. Yeah, so we pull Chef Chewy. There's a 2 muscle patrol over there, but we decided against going there now, so we go Chewy now. This Tenderize is the group damage here. And also you'll note this Pyromancer is not interruptible when pulled with Chewy, so we just have these attendants dropping some dodgeable swirlies. Chewy also drops high stakes, which is dodgeable, but if you get hit, you get stunned. So the only thing is this Boiling Flames, basically, when you have Chewy in the mix, is going to be going off. You see it almost kills our healer there. But I think one caster resolving its stuff is probably playable for the healer with Chef Chewy. Like, it's going to be kind of a hard pull, but it's definitely doable. Anyway, after Chewy's dead, we split it up. Once again, the only way to really like ruin your experience here is to pull more than 2 muscles or any amount of muscles plus Chef Chewy. Basically with Chef Chewy, you want to do like a kind of small pull. You could probably even do them with the boss, to be honest. And then the other pulls just have 2 hired muscles, and that's it. And like whatever other trash you want, you can pull with the muscles as long as you are somewhat on top of your interrupts. This is the Volatile Keg, that's the AoE damage. See, it puts a dot on everyone. And they also have Throw Chair. So you want to be focusing one down probably. That's the Throw Chair. The damage hit. So that's this area. Personally, I think it's actually fine as long as you limit what you're pulling and you know exactly what you can and cannot pull. First timers to the dungeon may not know that, so I foresee a lot of pugs wiping by like ninja pulling extra, or like just accidentally pulling an extra muscle, or maybe Chef Chewy plus a muscle, which is just instant death in any real key level. Maybe they could make the 2 patrolling muscles stand still, or Chewy could just like start over here and not move or something. Something like that to make sure that random groups aren't ninja pulling and like, you know, budgeting how much they actually pull in this room. Anyway, on to the first boss. So this boss does some abilities. So Keg Smash is just a tank hit, and it also drops some poop on the ground. Doesn't really hit that hard. Throws Cinderbrew, so this is his like main challenging ability. So you can see he's targeting these 2 people, Terrathal and Drogo. He puts circles on them, they move out, and then they get the dot. This happens every time. I'm not sure if that is intended that they get the dot, but I think the circle is supposed to be like, I don't know. It wouldn't make sense if no one got the dot because then the boss would be too easy. So I think the circle is just supposed to show like where this is appearing, like the poop on the ground. Anyway, this dot actually hurts like crazy. You can see they're like almost dying. We have TD and Lay on one person, and the other person just lives, I guess. He's the healer. Anyway, you kind of want to like drop this poop intelligently, because shortly after the boss starts, he's going to go into Happy Hour. This is like the signature ability. Basically, you have to, he's immune, and you have to run around grabbing these mugs that he serves, take a mug, and walk it over to a patron. So because of this mechanic, by the way, you kind of have to clear almost every pack in the room before you pull the boss. Otherwise, you know, you're going to be pulling stuff with the boss. While the Happy Hour is happening, if you don't do it efficiently, then you're going to be taking ticking damage from the patrons. But, you know, it's I figure once people like figure out the mechanic, it's not going to take that long. We did that one in 11 seconds. It's like our second time doing the dungeon. Here's the Cinderbrew again. It's going to show that it's on our shaman and the healer. I do sack on shaman. But yeah, this is kind of like the unavoidable damage from the boss. Keg Smash is basically just a non-ability for me, I guess. For most tanks, hopefully. These swirlies, if you walk into, you get stunned, but I mean, just dodge, XD. Blazing Belch is obviously a frontal, just don't stand in it. That's the whole boss, basically. He just repeats from there. In my opinion, that boss is kind of okay. It's kind of not sure what the purpose of the dots is supposed to be, but I don't mind. As long as... I don't mind the current version, I guess. But it does seem a little bit buggy. Maybe they could change how it's presented or something. All right, on to this area before IPA. This area is actually extremely dangerous. Every mob here is dangerous. So these Pyromaniacs we already saw. They have the debuff that they put on people. So if there's multiple, then you're going to have to deal with the debuff actually going off. And they also have the kick. And then there's this flavor scientist who casts the explosive brew with no cast time for some reason. You just have to kill this. It does get cleaved, unlike some of the other totems we've seen, which is nice. And it also has a cast called Rejuvenating Honey. So we're now 3 mobs in, and there's like 5 casts. So I don't know. Good luck playing without a prot paladin, I guess. And now we're going to talk about the ceaseless or the careless hobgoblins. So these are considered like the mini bosses of the area. They really only have one ability, and you'll see what it is soon. They have this reckless delivery. So it picks a person. You can see it's on the Shadow Priest here. And he's baiting it into the next pull because we kind of want it to chain. It charges all the way until it hits a wall. And then as soon as it hits a wall, it does massive damage. You can see how much damage it did to us. And it also summons a couple brew droplets. And that's basically all he does. The brew droplets actually melee quite hard, so getting aggro on those is going to be important. I hope they reduce the melee damage from those because it would feel bad if they just spawned and then random melee just died to getting meleeed or crit by them or something because the melee damage is too high. Similar to Grim Atoll, kind of like towards the end where they nerfed all those small mobs by like 66% or something. Anyway, on the Hobgoblin, there's a new mob here. So we have the Flavor Scientist, which spawns the totem. We also have 2 Taste Testers. So these Taste Testers are actually extremely dangerous. They cast 2 abilities. One is Free Samples, so that's basically Throw Flash, except it's fire. Boom, you can see it go on our Priest there. He had TD, so we lived. This one went on our Shaman. This is how much health he lost. They also have an ability called Spilled Drink, which enrages them, making them deal extremely more damage. I think it's either 50 to 100%. I actually don't remember how much, but it increases their damage by a lot. So if Spilled Drink is active and they cast free samples at anyone, then that person is going to take a massive damage. You're also going to take massive damage as the tank because they have like 100% increased melee damage for some reason. I feel like that should probably be toned down a bit. And you also need to CC that if it overlaps with Reckless Delivery. So you can see if this lands and then like free samples also lands at the same time from an enraged mob, that could easily kill someone. So you want to avoid that. Also in this area, basically, since every single mob is so ridiculously dangerous, you want to be pulling small. Also of note, when the Hobgoblin dies, he just spawns a gajillion droplets, which can, you know, melee anyone. Here, you'll notice owners walking into this pool. I could have also pulled the patrol, and a lot of people might be fooled into doing that, thinking, oh, it's just, you know, a tame 3 mob pull and a tame 4 mob pull. Except every single mob in this area is giga dangerous. You don't want to do that. You want to pull small. So this basically is more of the same. There's a Pyromancer, 2 Flavor Scientists that spawn the totems, and the Taste Tester, which does Throw Flesh. Not much to talk about here. As long as you pull slow and small, it's fine. If anyone accidentally pulls the patrol, it's almost guaranteed to be a wipe. Maybe they make the patrol like not actually patrol, or maybe patrol like not as far, but you know, whatever. Hopefully people don't accidentally pull. This, I'm actually so scared of these 2 mobs that I choose not even to pull these for. I'm just saying the next pull is 2 Hobgoblins and a Flavor Scientist. This is basically, in my opinion, equivalent to like a double mini boss pull. Like in Grim Atoll, the 2 Lava Benders is basically the same level of difficulty, in my opinion, except they're patrolling. And they're near a bunch of other packs that can be ninja pulled. Once these are dead, we move on. I'm basically going pack by pack because every mob in here is super dangerous. These Taste Testers can one-shot once they have Spilled Drink on them. And they also recast, obviously, because every mob recasts now. Next, we entered the boss room. So in this boss room, it's actually very dangerous to fight in the boss room because there's a bunch of patrols, one of which is a Hobgoblin. And also, if you pull out Hobgoblin, he's going to charge into stuff. And then also these Taste Testers are going to stand still and then not move sometimes, etc. So I'm trying to keep it somewhat small here. One thing that I am very worried about is if people try to pull small and this Hobgoblin walks into him, then someone aims the charge the wrong way, then he's going to pull extra mobs. And if you pull any extra packs in this area, it is almost certain death. These mobs are so dangerous. Like Taste Tester is very dangerous, Hobgoblin is very dangerous, and you know, wait till you see the next pack. So we are like, being very aware of this and not charging the mob like over here. Any pug, I'm pretty sure, is going to be pulling this pack with the first Hobgoblin, and it's going to be a wipe. So I recommend not doing this if you're watching this video and you end up in this dungeon and they don't change it. But like, I foresee many groups pulling this ridiculous pack of 4 taste testers, and then also there's a patrolling Hobgoblin. Plus they might actually accidentally have another pack and just chain wiping. So also, if you wipe, by the way, this Hobgoblin's charge, like the reckless impact on the wall, has infinite range. So if you wipe and if you die and you release, then it's going to hit you at the spawn and you basically can't get back to the group. So that's another thing I hope they change. So yeah, this is the 4 taste tester pack. They're all enraging and they're all casting free samples at our group. So kind of need to use AoE stop. So here's the enrage, and we cannot let another free samples go off or it's just death. So we have Oppressing Roar into Cap Totem here, which is enough to, I guess, kill them before it becomes dangerous. But yeah, I foresee many pugs not doing that and just dying over and over. All in all, I would say if you actually know what you're doing in this dungeon, the difficulty is like fine, it's manageable. In my opinion, the main problem becomes that it's too punishing. Like, if you die, if you mess up, one of the most common ways that people are going to mess up is by pulling too much trash, like by accidentally pulling a patrol or having the charge go like the wrong way into another pack, or like a totem spawns near another pack and it gets ninja pulled, or like it's unkillable because it's near another pack. I see those being like the main issues pugs are going to run into, and those are all almost always going to result in wipes, which doesn't feel really good, especially, with Challenger's Peril being in the game somehow still. Why? So I hope that maybe some things need to be changed, such as this guy's charge being global, like we mentioned already. The totem spawn radius, like this explosive brew, no one is standing here. Why is it spawning over there? It should spawn on the mob, or like at least on the party members, maybe. Stuff like that I think should be changed. In terms of how difficult the mobs actually are when played properly, I think is fine. The main problem is that it's too easy to fail, and when you fail, the punishment is too severe. The rest of the room is pretty simple, I think. Wait, we wiped. Oh, I kind of egoed this pull. I was like, oh, there's only 2 mobs. Let me pull some more, and then we let a totem go off and people died. On to this boss. We say we have lust, so I'm going to pull trash into the boss, but we'll just talk about the boss. His first mechanic is Spouting Stout, which does group damage. Gotta keep your healers on their toes. And it also drops all these swirlies, so you have to heal and move. And also, you see these red swirlies are all going to spawn and add. So I don't know if you guys remember King's Rest, the first boss. This basically is a similar boss. These brew drops will spawn. The way I'm doing it is they kind of spawn in a triangle around the boss. So I hodge one and then I run near it. If you run over it, even while it's done, it will get eaten. I think that should probably be changed, but whatever. I don't really care that much about that. So I stun one and then I run kind of close to it to lure the others near it so they become stacked. Bottom's uppercut is just a tank buster that knocks you. You can see I kind of lured them so that they were stacked. They do chase the boss. If you don't do that, then they're going to be spread around the room. There's going to be puddles everywhere. And the boss might eat one. If he does eat one, he does group damage and he also gets a shield. So don't want to do that. By the way, once these puddles go away, which happens over time, they spawn into new brew droplets, which spawn before the new spouts, which I think this timing should be adjusted, maybe, because it's kind of awkward that the boss is not moving, but brew droplets are moving into him. Like, a lot of groups might find that unplayable, you might say, if they're not doing CC properly, and we just all in. So fortunately, we had lust and a lot of damage on this boss. I think if he lived past this set of ads, it might have gotten really, really awkward. I'm not sure what the best solution is. Maybe just a few less droplets, or maybe just only spawn droplets. Maybe one droplet from each set lives on instead of all of them, or maybe the droplets could move slower, something like that. There's also another mechanic where if the droplets live a long time, they get increased move speed by 200%. I think the boss, if you don't use AoE CCs, the boss can get into checkmate positions where there's an ad running into the boss and the boss is not moving. In my opinion, maybe the ads could have slower base move speed, and then once they get the actual enrage from living too long, the move speed could be increased. So that you still have to kill the ads, but you don't get checkmated by just not having CC in your group. Next we have the next area. So this is leading up to this boss, the bee boss. So in this area, there's 4 different types of mobs, I want to say. So there's worker bees, the honey harvester, the bee wrangler, and there's also bee jets and the jelly purveyor. So there's 5 mobs. All right. After doing this, I actually figured out, after doing this run, I kind of learned what all the mobs do, but I didn't have proper nameplate colors for this, so it was kind of hard to tell. So the bee wrangler shoots the tank. But sometimes he'll cast Beezooka on people, and also these worker bees cast Shredding Sting, which applies the dot. You can see 3 stacks on our mage here, which is a bleed. And this guy also does, he does beeswax, which is just run out. And he also does a stacking AoE on the group. Go pull the purveyor here. It's called, let's see what he just did. It's called swarming something, right? It just does a big AoE and it puts a stack on everyone. If he's still alive forever, then this keeps stacking up, so you have to kill him. Honey Purveyor does the honey volley, which everyone remembers from leveling. It just slows you massively. Fortunately, you can just kick XD. There's only one interrupt in the whole area, so everyone just kicks it. He also does the swirlies on the ground. We'll see that in a sec, I think. Yeah, this is caused by the Jelly Purveyor. One thing that's super dangerous is these worker bees. When they get low, they cast Final Sting, which is nature damage, and it does a massive amount of damage. I personally was not prepared for this. This run, as you'll see, I'm on the floor many times. I think if I do this dungeon again, I'll probably be fine. But maybe Final Sting could be tuned down just a little bit. Or maybe they could start casting it from a lower health, so it's actually possible, feasible to just chain CC them until they die, or something like that. But anyway, here's the Final Sting. Bang! It just one bangs me. I think that was actually 2 of them. It is possible for them to sync up their Final Sting too, which is kind of awkward. Maybe there could be some sort of forced to desync or something. But yeah, this was extremely punishing. I basically just chain fed in this whole area. Not gonna say I played it well. With better play, I would be, surviving more, since there's not really much other tank damage. But I feel like Final Sting is a little bit overtuned. I think one thing that would help is if it was an infinite range too. One thing you'll notice as the run goes on is that things are just casting Final Sting from super far away, because what'll happen is they're shredding Sting to an ally. Then they drop low, and then they cast Final Sting. They're not even on my screen. I'm getting hit for 12 million from a mob that's not even on my screen. So, yeah. Wait to this pull. It's basically more of the same mobs. This area, honestly, I think is kind of fine. It's just Final Sting. It needs to be, nerfed. As you can see, this mob charged all the way off screen. I don't even see what's happening to my character, and it just casts Final Sting, from off screen, and it just one-shots me. Bang. I think it should have I think Final Sting should probably have a minimum range, in my opinion. Okay. We're just going forward here. This area has a bunch of bees, bee jets and worker bees, which are apparently different mobs. The bee jets just apply a stacking magic debuff on the tank, which in my opinion is fine. It's kind of playable. Dwarf, although it does make Dwarf really, really good. Dwarf's going to be insane this season for every class. All right, more of the same mobs. I think I died to another Final Sting. LOL. You can kind of see us feeding here, but honestly, I think it's mainly because I'm dying to Final Sting. If I had not died to Final Sting this area would have been pretty clean from us, I think. Oh well, PTR run. Okay, so we go to this boss. So this boss is kind of crazy. I think there's a few things that should be changed, and we'll talk about them here. So first mechanic is he spawns these barrels, and the barrels attract bees. So these bees actually melee kind of hard. If anyone is standing closer than the tank to these ads, then they can just get crit and immediately get one shot, especially considering there's a lot of group damage happening. I think maybe the ads should have a bit of an arming time when they spawn, so that doesn't happen to people. Otherwise, I don't really know what the counterplay is supposed to be, other than just stay super far away from the barrels, except that you're also maybe you're playing a melee DPS, so you can't really do that. Also, the tank has forced movement on this fight, so this is the tank buster / tank mechanic. It applies this marinade to you, so the initial hit actually does nothing, basically, and the dot doesn't really hurt either. But when it falls off, it does quite a bit of damage, which is basically considered the tank buster. In my opinion, that's fine. One thing, though, that I have a problem with is that the ads are all aggroed to me, the tank, and I'm dropping off the circle. So, and there's also another mechanic. If these ads walk into the circle, like the honey, they get honey gorge or something, which makes them deal more damage and also heal. But I'm also the one, so I have aggro of these as a tank, and I'm also the one dropping off the circle. So basically, in order to not have them heal, I have to do some crazy movement where I drop it off and then horse immediately out, and they also have to be charged out at the same time. If they're just on top of me, then there's absolutely no way that I can see for me to stop them from healing. So in my opinion, this honey should at least have some sort of arming time. Or they could just make it so the debuff doesn't matter, but I don't think that's what they want to do. Anyway, this is the scary part of the boss. So these Cinderbrews are jumping around, putting dots on people, bleeds. And the boss also does this AoE damage. That's also a knock at the same time. Here we get the marinade again, but the bees are dead. Also, to get rid of these barrels, you can see how the priest did it here. Once you kill a bee, you jump on it, and then you can aim it, and you use you push one or something, and then you aim it through a barrel, and it breaks the barrel. If you don't break the barrels, then extra bees continue to spawn from the barrels. You get too many bees, and you get too many dots on the party, and then this the AoE of Fluttering Wing becomes too hard to deal with. And that's the boss, really. I honestly think this boss is kind of fine. There just needs to be 2 changes. Number 1, like this, where I drop the puddle and the ads are like chasing me around, so they automatically get eaten by the puddle. Feels like it's just guaranteed failure. Something should probably be done about that. And also, like the tank having to drop off the puddle while also get aggro of the ads, unless, or they'll like one-shot your allies, also seems like not great. I don't know what the solution is for that. Maybe they could just have the ads like not melee for a bit when they spawn or something. Not sure. Anyway, that is this boss. Once this boss dies, I forgot to pull these B jets. You can take the B line up. So these mobs reset their health whenever one dies. Legend has it that it is possible to kill 2 in the same global, like for instance with Breath of Eons. However, if you do not do that, then they will full heal every time. I've never seen them not full heal. But yeah, every time you kill one, the others all full heal. Once they die, it spawns the boss. So this boss is actually kind of crazy, but there's a strategy we picked up, actually developed by The Evade. This boss is similar to the Underrot boss, 3rd boss. I don't know if you guys remember that, but basically there's 4 fire barrels around the room, and every time you break a fire barrel, it puts a dot on the group, it stacks up. And also, at the end of every phase, the boss will like jump over here and shoot everything. That does AoE damage, and it can also overlap. If there's any barrels alive, she'll overlap and break those barrels, and that dot will be applied like during the AoE. So there is like some strategy to it. One strategy, basically the way we're doing it, is I'm gonna do all the barrel breaking as a tank. You can break them either with the frontal or with dispel mechanics. So I break the barrel. Also, whenever the barrel breaks, they shoot these little waves. As you can see, these waves are always in cardinal directions. Whenever we get debuffs here, if this debuff like gets dispelled, I don't think it can dispel. If it expires on top of a barrel and that barrel breaks, if that barrel is burning, then you will get a dot, right? So the way we do our strategy is I always break the one next to the desk. I think there's some set spawns there. So I break the one next to the desk, then I break this one, and then I'll break the one on the side here. But basically, I'm doing every single break. We're always getting 1 stack of the dot here outside of the intermission, so we can kind of heal through it without cooldowns, in my opinion. Yeah, this is the dispellable dot that you get. I think it's weird that it like does the circle, and then at the end of the circle, you get the dispellable dot. And so the dispellable dot is lining up with the barrel dot. Not sure what exactly the best solution there is, but anyway. We're playing with Presovoker, so you notice how with our strategy, everyone, after I break the first ones on square, everyone can basically just AFK on square the whole time, every range player. We do have a little bit of a harder intermission, but as long as healers have cooldowns, then it's fine. Once that happens, the fight will reset. So then I'm going to break again at square, and then the group is going to regroup at square after I break and they dodge the first waves. I see this fight causing massive mayhem in pugs, which I think they kind of wanted. This fight is honestly kind of fun, in my opinion. Our strat makes it kind of cheesy, but when it's done YOLO, I would say it's fun. Maybe some people will find it difficult or hard or too chaotic, and especially in pugs. By the way, these will like one-shot any player if you get hit by them. Tanks usually get one-shot unless you have a cooldown running, but like why would you cooldown if you're, you wouldn't want to use a cooldown on that. Anyway, so that's the boss. That's Cinderbrew Meadery. I think when played properly, this dungeon is actually fine. There's just a few mechanics that are too punishing. Number 1, Final Sting should probably only be castable in melee range. Number 2, I think that it's too easy to ninja pull too many mobs, especially at the start and in the second area. And number 3, I would say the B boss could probably use a little bit of a, become a little bit easier. Like the Honey Marinade, for sure, I think should have an arming time. It just feels like it's impossible for a tank to play that boss properly. Anyway, that's going to be it for Cinderbrew Meadery. Thank you for watching. Peace out.